The Hedonic Treadmill, chasing happiness in a never-ending race. Have you ever wondered why, despite all the efforts and achievements, happiness always seems just out of reach? Like a shadow, it slips away the moment you think you've caught it. There are times when you feel on top of the world, only to be met with an empty, hollow feeling shortly after. Does that sound familiar? Today I want to share with you a concept from psychology known as the hedonic treadmill. The name itself stirs up a flurry of thoughts. Picture a hamster running endlessly on a wheel, running faster and faster, yet never actually getting anywhere. That's the essence of this concept. Understanding the hedonic treadmill. The hedonic treadmill is a theory in psychology that suggests that humans tend to return to a relatively stable level of happiness, despite major positive or negative events in their lives. Whether you win the lottery, achieve a long-awaited goal, or face a significant setback, your emotional high or low is often temporary. Eventually you find yourself back at your baseline level of happiness. Think about it. There's that surge of excitement when you buy a new phone, the thrill of holding it in your hands for the first time. But then what? After a few weeks, the novelty wears off and that same phone becomes just another device. The initial thrill fades, and you start yearning for something newer, better, more exciting. That's the hedonic treadmill at work. But here's the deeper, more troubling truth. It's not just that happiness is fleeting. It's that this treadmill sets a trap, an invisible snare that keeps us chasing fleeting moments of joy, losing ourselves in a race that never ends. The exhaustion of an endless race. Perhaps, like me, you've felt the exhaustion of constantly striving for what you think will make you happy. I used to believe that if I could just push a little harder, get that promotion, buy that luxury item, or win that bit of recognition, I'd finally be satisfied. But the reality was different. After reaching each milestone, I found myself feeling just as empty as before. Nothing seemed to change. This treadmill never stops. It keeps spinning, compelling us to keep running, setting new goals, reaching for the next big thing. I thought that by running faster, working harder, I would eventually grasp true happiness. But the truth is, I was only standing still, trapped in place, as the treadmill kept turning beneath me. Reflections on joy and sorrow. I started to think more deeply about joy and sorrow. I began to question whether I had been too focused on external things, neglecting the true value of my inner self. I once believed that happiness came from acquiring what I desired, but was it all just a delusion, a self-deception that kept me running in circles? Perhaps I had forgotten that happiness doesn't come from what we possess, but from how we experience and appreciate life. When I look back, the happiest moments of my life weren't when I achieved something grand, but when I was simply being true to myself, feeling a deep sense of peace within. It was during those quiet walks on serene country roads, those evenings spent with family, laughing and talking, that I felt truly content. These were moments when I didn't need to chase anything, didn't need to prove anything to anyone, just being and savouring the simplicity of life. Looking back on the journey. As I reflect on my journey, I realise that I've spent far too much time chasing dreams that weren't truly mine. I used to think that if I could just get the perfect job, have a comfortable life, I'd be happy. But the truth is, those things only brought temporary joy, and soon after, I found myself feeling empty once again. The hedonic treadmill is like a vortex, pulling us in, preventing us from stopping, from seeing what truly matters. It makes us forget that happiness isn't something we need to chase after. It's something we already have, something we just need to recognize and appreciate. The contrast between hope and reality. One of the reasons the hedonic treadmill is so powerful is because of the stark contrast between hope and reality. I once read that hope is the last thing to leave a person. It was hope that kept me running on that treadmill. The hope that just a little more effort, a little more striving would finally bring happiness. But what happens? Each time I reached a goal, my hopes shifted to a new target, and the race continued endlessly. We often place our happiness at the end of the journey, believing it lies at the finish line. But the reality is, each time we approach that finish line, it moves further away. I've felt disappointed, even defeated by this truth, but I've also come to understand that this isn't a flaw in the system, it's a fundamental part of human nature. We are always wanting more than what we have. Rethinking the true value of life. As I've pondered the hedonic treadmill, I've started to ask myself, are we too focused on what society tells us is important? Fame, wealth, power, do these things truly bring happiness? Or are they traps luring us into an endless race? I believe it's time to rethink the true value of life. Happiness isn't about chasing after far-off goals or accumulating more than we need. Happiness might simply be learning to be content with what we have, finding joy in the small, meaningful moments of life. I used to think that happiness was something grand, something exhilarating that came from achieving big things. But now I see that true happiness often comes from the simplest things. It might be a peaceful morning with a hot cup of coffee, the smile of a loved one, or the quiet moments when I can just be myself, without pretending, without chasing after anything. Happiness is not a destination, but a journey. One of the most profound lessons I've learned from the hedonic treadmill is that happiness is not a destination we need to reach. True happiness is found in the journey itself, in the small steps we take every day. I've come to realize that when I appreciate the little things, the simple pleasures in life, I start to feel genuinely happy. Perhaps the most important thing is not achieving grand goals, but learning to pause and enjoy what we already have. I used to rush through life, always in a hurry, always striving, and in doing so I missed out on the most precious moments. But when I started to slow down, I realized that happiness had always been there, right beside me, waiting for me to notice it. The trap of endless desires. One thing I've come to understand about the hedonic treadmill is that it's a subtle trap, one that's hard to recognize. Most of us, caught up in the pursuit of what society deems as symbols of happiness, forget that it's this very pursuit that keeps us from ever feeling truly content. I used to think that once I had the dream job, the high salary, the luxury items, I'd be happy. But what actually happened? After achieving those things, I still felt that something was missing, that I wasn't complete. That's when I realized I was caught in the trap of the hedonic treadmill, running in place, never reaching the finish line I had imagined. That feeling is terrifying, to realize that no matter how hard you push, how much you accomplish, it all feels like a mirage. What's even more frightening is that this isn't just a one-time experience. It's a cycle that repeats throughout life. We keep wanting more, but do we ever feel satisfied? And how to step off the hedonic treadmill. Stepping off the hedonic treadmill is not an easy task. It's a long process, requiring patience and determination, but I believe that if we become aware of its existence and change our perspective on life, we can break free from this invisible wheel. I've learnt to slow down, to stop focusing on acquiring more, and instead I've learnt to appreciate what I already have. Every day I try to find at least one thing to be grateful for, be it my health, my family, or good friends. By focusing on the positives in life, I feel happier and no longer caught in the endless race. Changing our mindset to find happiness. Changing our mindset is one of the most crucial steps to stepping off the hedonic treadmill. We need to accept that life doesn't always give us what we want, but that doesn't mean we can't be happy. I've learnt to focus on the positive aspects, to live in the present, and to stop worrying so much about the future. I've realized that when I enjoy the moments of the here and now, I start to feel happier. I'm no longer pressured by societal standards. no longer trapped in the endless race of life. The journey to happiness. The hedonic treadmill is a challenging concept in psychology, but it's also a valuable reminder of how we should live. Happiness isn't found at the end of a journey, it's present in every step along the way. To find true happiness, we need to learn to be grateful, to appreciate the simple things in life, and to stop running after distant goals. You might find yourself somewhere on this treadmill, but remember you have the power to step off, to slow down, and to start living a more peaceful, content life. Happiness isn't about what you achieve, but how you perceive and enjoy what you already have. I hope that through this story you found a little bit of peace in your heart and maybe even a new way to look at life. Don't let life become a never-ending race. Live, love, and seek out the true happiness that lies in the simplest of things. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope that these reflections bring some light into your journey. Remember, happiness isn't a destination. It's found in how you experience and appreciate the road you're on. And on that road, take time to slow down, to savor each step, and to truly feel the happiness that is already within your reach. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe to encourage me to create more exciting content. Every like and subscription brings me so much joy and motivation. See you in the next video.